Welcome back. So we're going to take a look at a few more examples of what the world stage is communicating to us as far as the date September 23rd of 2029. And again, I just want to show this top timeline here, which is what all the world of news and sports are in alignment with. The remaining 7 years of tribulation, or 1 week, with the rapture occurring prior to the tribulation. Now I'm going to start with an interesting post-game interview with Jaden Ivey of the Detroit Pistons, where after the game he started talking about Jesus coming back, and none of the reporters asked him to talk about this. He just brought it up on his own, and he said the kingdom of heaven is near and Jesus is coming back. And it just so happens that on this day after the Pistons win, they're picking up a record of 10-52. And that pairing of numbers has a mathematical relationship with the numbers in the date 23/9/29. The 10th prime number is 29, and the 52nd prime number is 239. Again, another play on the date. And I spoke about the number 2663 in part 1 and its importance. And what I talked about was the prime number relationship. The 2663rd prime number is a numerical value that reads like the date 23,929, or 23/9/29. And from the date of the game to 9/23/29 is a span of 2 weeks, 66 months, and 3 days, just like the number 2663. Now, there was a game between the Mavericks and the Jazz on Christmas of 2021, and the Jazz win the game, and they're getting a record that reads like the date, September 23rd, or 23/9. And after the Mavericks lose, they're getting a record that reads like the value in Thessalonians that I spoke about in part 1, 1,517. And again, after the game, and I'm actually just now noticing that they posted the article at 2:39 a.m. That's interesting. I didn't know that. But after the game, ESPN wrote a recap, and they referred to Donovan Mitchell as letting out a triumphant yell. Okay, that's a play on trumpet, because the rapture happens at the last trumpet. And again, they had another air reference with him throwing the ball high in the air. Again, it's a reference to being caught up in the air, meeting the Lord in the clouds. And from this day to the day, September 23rd of 2029, you have a span of 7 years, 0 months, 0 days, and 39 weeks. And the 7,219th prime number is that value, which would be 73,009. And the 923rd prime number is 7,219. So via this number right here, 7219, 923 has a mathematical relationship with 73,009. So that's the connection in the date duration, 923, and they're picking up the record 23/9. And I also thought it was interesting that it's also a span of 2,830 days to the date, September 23rd. And the Jazz are picking up their 2,083rd franchise win, which is essentially just a shuffle. So it's like the date duration. And I do think that's not a coincidence. I think that's on purpose. Now, also in part 1, I stated that the character known as Mr. Stephen Curry is a representation of the tribulation period. That's a whole nother topic. But on August 29th of this year, it was reported that he agreed to a 1-year deal for $626 million. And again, it's a play on the number 626, which pertains to the rapture verse in 1 Thessalonians. That's the value, 626. And from this day, it was reported to the date September 23rd of 2029, you have a value of 60 months and 26 days, and the zero doesn't mean anything in numerology, so you just read that as 626. Again, something that I think was intentional. Now, this one is a little more obscure, but in part one, I spoke about how the Falcons are the team to have a value of 239 in Gematria. And on October 8th of 2023, they defeated the Texans for the 386 all-time win. And again, the 386 prime number is 2,663, and then the 2,663rd prime number is 23,929, the value that reads like the date. Now, this was an important win, and while they're picking up this franchise win, 386, they're on 495 losses. And in my view, this is a reference to the 99th triangular number when you read numbers like a language, which would be 4,950. But in numerology, the zero doesn't mean anything. So if you saw that number, you could read it as 495 as well. But in my view, it's a reference to 4,950, which has a mathematical relationship with 99, which is the value of rapture in Gematria. So you have the relationship here of the value that represents the numerical value of rapture, and then you have the number that represents the date. Now, also in this game, the Texans they're playing their 343rd all-time game, and the 343rd prime number is 2,309. So you would read that as 23/09, like you would write a date, 0923. So that this numerical value also has a mathematical relationship with a number that reads like the date. And then after the game, they're on 293 head-to-head points, which is just the key digits. And then the quarterback for the Texans, he's getting to 2 and 3. Again, another reference to the date, the 23rd. And that is everything. I appreciate it. Until next time.